What is up, people? We got Pro Fan Talk. Coach Marcus Thomas in the building. Birds of a Feather. You already know, another Thursday night delight. Brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie sandwich, cutlets, and balls of the meat. Mention A2D Radio of 10 for 10% off of your in-store purchase. Let's go.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! He's flying!
Oh, come in. It's almost time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio, brought to you by Baggio's Bread, as my co-host OGP alluded to. So make sure you hit them up and make sure you mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere you download your podcast. So listen to us live right now, or on your commute, or on the way to Baggio's Bread. We greatly appreciate the support. We've got a nice, special, awesome show for you tonight. Because not only do your four Birds of a Feather co-hosts return this week again, we've got, for the second time back on the show, Mr. Coach Marcus of Pro Fan Talk. Marcus, what's good, brother? How are you, man?
I'm good, brothers. I'm good. Just another day closer to camp. Let's get it.
Let's get it. That's good. And then Mr. OG Pete, PY, and Jake. How are you, fellas?
Good.
Can't complain. Bad air quality, but I just feel sorry for the guy on the bottom. That's all.
Yeah. I'm just praying for him.
Let's just put him in a bubble at this point.
I went to the doctor today. They gave me more steroids. They're going to give me a steroid I can breathe in, and I'm getting chest x-rays. So
there you go.
Okay. All right.
Life sucks for me right now. And the IRS screwed me hard, so that's fun stuff all
That's
around.
always fun.
No, yeah, it's always fun. That's always fun. Well, tonight will be fun because we are talking running backs. We are talking running backs, and that's why we have Mr. Coach Marcus on with us to talk some running backs for 2023. The first half of the show, we're actually going to dive in to the Eagles running back room. I know a lot of the talk, if you've been watching Pro Fan Talk and definitely checking him out every Thursday night before us at 7 o'clock. If you've been, following him on social media too, he's been, talking about the discussion of who is going to lead this backfield for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be Gainwell, it's going to be Swift, it's going to be Penny. So we're going to continue that conversation here with him first half of the show. And then the second half, we will continue, the four of us, our running back rankings. This time, 2023 projection rankings for the running back position. Who are the top guys that we think are going to have the best years this upcoming season? We'll dive into that. And then, of course, to end the show, we will go no huddle. The first half of the show, it's brought to you by Alandi Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let their talented team of travel experts create a custom vacation for you. Make sure you hit either me or Ritz, your A2D specialist for your vacation of your dreams. Hit us up, book those vacation, guys, because it's never too early. So get those vacations in. Hit me up if you want to start booking. All right, so our poll question to lead off the show tonight: DeAndre Swift will have the most touches out of any Eagles running back in 2023. Agree or disagree? Gentlemen, I'm going to start off with one Marcus Thomas, our special guest, because he's been driving this talk, like I said a moment ago, and I want to see what he has to say, and then we'll piggyback off of that, and we'll see where we go with it. But yeah, Marcus, I think I know where you're going to go with this, but let the fam know. Do you agree or disagree when it comes to Swift leading this backfield in touches this upcoming?
Now let me get some clarity.
Oh my!
Are you saying touches or rushes?
Touches.
Yes.
I
would agree with that.
You
I
would.
would agree with that. That would not be my preference, but I think that is going to end up happening.
Okay.
Of course, all of this is under the umbrella of who is going to be healthy by the end of the year. Gainwell would get the edge on that one because he didn't get hurt last year. Swift, he had a pretty extensive injury, and we all know about Rashaad Penny. So they're both coming off of injury. So it all falls under that. If you can stay healthy, he who stays the healthiest goes the deepest in the playoffs. So if we can keep that, I would like to see Gainwell, because I just think Gainwell is just I think people are just missing on him, sleeping on him. They did, but think about it like this: for the same reason that people didn't want Miles Sanders, he fumbled the ball, then he got hurt. So there's always going to be something, and Gainwell's he's like the guy that's going to get that type of energy right now, even though he doesn't deserve it. But essentially, the reason why I think it'll be Swift is because his role really isn't changing. Last year he was like he was the Robin to Miles Sanders' Batman, so he was the plan B. So if they inject DeAndre Swift, nothing's really changed for him. So I would think that DeAndre Swift is going to get the workload. How they're going to distribute that workload is key, because I still think, in my opinion, that does kind of put us in the whole realm of all of these hybrids, just like CMC and Debo, because I know Gainwell can be dangerous when you get the ball in his hands, and we already know what Swift can do. I think, would you agree that Gainwell is a better receiver than Swift?
Yes.
But Swift can catch the ball.
Yes.
So that lets us play that type of game a little bit more than we did in the past. But the big X factor is, what is Brian Johnson going to do with all these pieces on the board? We don't know that. So there's not much to fix. Shane Steichen pretty much had it running, minus all of those damn trips left and trips right, quick screens that he was running. Hopefully we can get some true screens from our running backs and our tight ends, and he can spread it out, and he can not make the mistakes that Steichen did, and he's got to make alterations. There's really not much you can do with the way the offense ran last year. You got no complaints other than stop running our quarterback for 17 RPOs a game. But now he's the franchise player. So you cannot put your franchise guy in danger like that. So he has to make alterations to the way things were going. So, but for the most part, it wasn't broke. So you're not going to fix it, but you do have to make some alterations. So we'll see.
Okay. Okay. Mr. OGP, what say you?
I'm going to disagree to the poll.
Really?
And the reason why I say that is because I need to see it. I need to see him be healthy. If it's one thing, Gainwell is very adaptable, and he's been reliable. His third year here now, he's been reliable. And if you look in that backfield, in that locker room, in that running back room, Markus said it. You have to bank on Swift being healthy. You have to bank on Penny being healthy. And they're both coming off of injuries. It's not like they had a solid season where they played more than 12 or 13, 14 games. They both missed significant time last year. Why Gainwell is still in the system. He knows the tendencies of the offensive line. He's been running behind them for the past 2 years. And I'm not saying he's going to – you don't have to be the lead back to say that Gainwell is going to have the most touches. You see what I'm saying? I hope I see sometime this year in that backfield, Jalen under center, and we see a pistol with both of them on the field at the same time.
Yep.
And then you can run, like Markus said, you run a true screen out of that formation to either side. And that just gives you another weapon, in the repertoire. But I would disagree to the poll solely from the standpoint of we're not talking about talent. We have to see what we're going to have in training camp. But just from the health standpoint, Gainwell, that's what is not talked about enough, because he is getting a lot of this negative energy because his name just isn't as big as Penny, as Swift. I think it's going to be Gainwell. But really, this is DeAndre Swift versus the field.
Yep.
And based on the injury history, I'm taking the field in this situation.
So real quick before I move on to Jacob and P1, what you're saying, just because you get the most touches, you're not necessarily the lead. What do you mean? How would you define a lead then?
Well, because once again, I'm saying you preference. What I'm saying is based off of injury availability.
Oh, okay. So you're just saying like if
right.
it could end up being skewed because of injury, but if all things are equal, the lead is still the guy that is going to get the majority of touches. Okay.
Right, but also if you look at this, if you look at this running back room, do you have? And this goes to what Markus was saying too. Are we going to have that dedicated lead back? Or is it going to be more matchup based or game plan based on who your opponent is going to be? Because I would say this, and this is not taking anything from Penny or Swift, but even at their best, like is one clearly ahead of the other? Do you have a clear number one running back in that room right now that all things equal is head and shoulders above the other three that are on the team? You know what I mean? Like I don't think you can say that.
Good question. Very good question. Jake.
It's tough, right? Because initially I was going to come in here, I was going to agree. Just because like DeAndre Swift's a new toy in the house, right? We're all excited to see him. But when Markus came in here, he brought up a good point. Kenneth Gainwell's been here for 3 years. We already know what he brings to the table, and not saying that DeAndre Swift isn't any good, not saying Rashaad Penny isn't any good, but we have one guy that's been here forever. He's been healthy. He's been consistent. I think he's going to start the year, talking about Kenneth Gainwell, I think he's going to start the year as the lead back, and I think that'll kind of change. Like the transition will be made as the season goes on, as DeAndre Swift and Rashaad Penny get acclimated and that whole thing to the offense and the system. But what OG Pete said is a really good point also. Is it going to be like a true lead back kind of thing, or is it going to be like game-to-game thing like we saw last year where Kenneth Gainwell had his touches, Boston Scott had his touches, Miles had his touches? But I think if we're talking about like just touches in general and not rushes, I think we're going to see DeAndre Swift more in the passing game than we are going to see him run this year. I think that's going to be a real focal point of this offense this year. So I think just because of that, since we're not saying just rushes, we're going for touches, I'm going to actually agree with the poll just because of what Swift gives you in the passing game.
All right, PY.
Yeah, I agree with the poll. Like, I get it, like injuries and whatnot, but like if this was Rashaad Penny, I could 100% buy into the, well, Gainwell might get more touches just because of injury history, because I don't think Rashaad Penny has ever finished his season. Like, DeAndre Swift averages about what, like 13 and a half, 14 games a season. Like,
yeah.
Which, like, obviously it's like a few, you're missing a few games, but you still have a chance to like be the leader in that locker room and on that field when in terms of running backs. Like, I like Kenneth Gainwell. Like, as Chucks knows how much I enjoy Gainwell's game. Like, I was banging the table for him hard last season. But as much as I like him, as much as I like his running ability, and as much as I like what he can do in the passing game, as of right now, he's running back 3. Like, Rashaad Penny is a game changer. DeAndre Swift is a game changer. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Gainwell, but like those two guys, they're smashers. Like, they can completely change the impact of a game within a split second. And DeAndre Swift, like, there's a reason they brought him in. If they were so confident in Kenny Gainwell, they may have drafted someone like later on in the draft just to complement them. But it's clear they view him as the running back 3 because they went out and they got DeAndre Swift. They got DeAndre Swift for a reason. He's a great running back. He can affect the game in a variety of different ways. I think at the end of the day, while he might miss a game or two, he's going to be your leader in touches, whether it's running the ball or catching the ball.
Yeah, those are good points because, we always talk about we hammer home the fact that either Swift or Penny they have the ability to stay healthy, but Penny's injuries have always been more severe. He's always missed much more time. And if you look at Swift's, he's always been hurt, but he's missed only a handful of games. He's still available for 13, 14 games a season, which if you look at the league as a whole and see you look at running backs, for the most part, they all do get banged up. Like for majority of Like if you just take the I don't have the exact numbers and anything like that, but if you take just all the notable running backs who get playing time, they get banged up, they get hurt. It's the rarity is for a running back to stay healthy for all games of the year. That's what's not common. Now Gainwell's been able to do it, but also Gainwell's role has been limited. He's been the complementary piece. I am going to agree to the poll. I think Swift will end up getting the most touches for a lot of the reasons that PY said. I think we are going to see Gainwell be trusted. Well, not trusted more because they do trust him, because that's why they put him in on money downs, like third downs, red zone. They put him in last year ahead of Miles, even though Miles was the lead. So they do trust him. Obviously, I think he's going to get even more touches. But here's the thing: I think in terms of role, and this has been my whole thing when it comes to Gainwell. His role, I think, is always going to be a complimentary guy. I do not see him as a lead guy. I'm going to repeat this because I need to remind people. When we drafted him, I went nuts. And there's video evidence on A2D's YouTube over me going nuts about drafting Kenneth Gainwell. I love Kenneth Gainwell for what he is. A huge reason why he was one of my favorite backs that draft class was because of his versatility, because of his receiving ability, what he can do as a true dual threat. Like you look at his stuff at Memphis, guys. He is running wide receiver routes. He's running downfield. He's catching these balls way downfield, deep, and it's insane. His ability as a receiver. It's gone understated so far because we just haven't used him that way outside of his rookie year. So I love Kenneth Gainwell, but I cannot say that he is even in a committee, because even when you have a committee, remember back in 2017, we won the Super Bowl. We had a committee, but Ajayi was the lead guy. Ajayi was the lead runner. He was the one that got the most touches, and then it was Blunt, and then Clement was there on certain occasions. It was still a committee, but we still had a clear lead guy. I don't think Gainwell is just that type of running back to be able to sustain around 15 touches a game is what you're talking about when it comes to a lead guy, even in a committee. And I just don't think he has the capability. I think once you increase his workload, you start to get diminishing returns. And that's what we talk about. That's why size, I hate to say it, size doesn't matter especially when it comes to the running back position. Like if you look at the most productive running backs over the past several years, I think you can go back 10 years, even more. The most productive running backs statistics wise are the ones that actually weigh 215 plus, because they can handle that type of workload. Now the smaller backs that are right around 200, the scat backs, they bring a lot of value. They absolutely do, but their roles are just so much different because a feature back that can carry a workload, maintain touches on the ground, and then still sprinkle in some receptions, they can't sustain that type of workload without breaking down. You get diminishing returns. That's why you have to limit. I mean, look at Darren Sproles. Look at a lot of like Nyheim Hines around the league. Like Hines was another comparison that a lot of people threw out when it came to Gainwell because of his role in Indy when Sirianni was there. And I see that that's Hines's, what Hines was to the Colts back then was essentially what I see for Gainwell. I want to see more of him as a receiver and as a receiver. I'm talking about role. I'm not talking about skill set. I'm talking about role. If you see a lot of the stuff, I even have a 15-minute long YouTube video on it too. If you see the way that the Colts use Hines, he was literally out wide being used as a receiver. And that's what I think Gainwell, if you are going to maximize what Gainwell can do, his skill set, that is what you need to have him do. But the big question, and I'll relay this over to you guys too, but Marcus hit on the fact that Brian Johnson, new OC, coming from Florida, he's going to bring this. A lot of people have been saying he involves the running backs a lot more in the receiving game. However, the reason why I can't say that for sure when it comes to the Eagles is because it's not his offense. it's Sirianni's offense, and to a degree, it's Hurts's offense. So, like, just because we have a new OC in Brian Johnson, and he's had a history of using running backs in the receiving game a lot more, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the change that's going to happen. I would like to see it happen. I think we all agree that we would love to see more running back screens. We would love to see Gainwell and now Swift being used more in the receiving game. I would love to see it, but I can't say for sure that's going to be the case. So I don't know. Like, what do you guys think in terms of usage with the new OC? What do you expect to see, and what do you think we should see? And like, is Brian Johnson going to be able to change the playbook that much, or is he literally just going to be what Steichen was, where he'll have some influence, but his role is just going to be calling plays on game day, calling what plays to go here. But I don't think he's going to mold the offense and say, "Hey, we're going to use more screens to the running backs and get them more involved in the receiving game." I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So I think Eagles fans are overflating everything, if that makes sense. They think that just because we went out and then we got DeAndre Swift, we're going to like lead the league and like running back passes and things like that. I think with Brian Johnson and what he did at Florida, he really valued using running backs out of the backfield and passing to him and all of that stuff. However, I mean, we were also the second. We had the second fewest amount of running back passes last year. So, do I think that it's going to be a huge part of our offense? No, but I think with everything that we've added, along with Brian Johnson, I think it's going to be a larger part than it has been in the last 2 years. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree. Also, it's going to be a much larger part this season, especially. But we also have a unique situation to where the OC and the quarterback have known each other for 20 plus years. So there's that relationship there. Of course, Brian Johnson, like any offensive coordinator, will want to. They want to add like their little blemishes, things that make their offense unique to them. But also, Jalen's going to have his input, of course, because Brian Johnson and Jalen respect each other. For people who don't know, they've known each other, I think, since Jalen was a baby, or Brian's known Jalen, rather, since he was a baby, because I think, if I remember correctly, I think Jalen's dad coached Brian. I think that's how it worked, if I remember correctly, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
It was something like that. So there's like that very unique relationship that you don't see quite often in the NFL. So there's a big part of that. But, yeah, I think passing as far as to the running backs is going to be a big part of this offense, like I said earlier.
Don't forget either, because I know I referenced San Francisco with Debo and CMC.
Mm-hmm.
But let us not forget that all of the chaos that Debo caused because he didn't want to be a running back.
Right.
Because he was getting too banged up.
Yep.
So, and with Brian Johnson is what, 35?
He's young.
So
yeah, he's real young.
He's a young kid. But I went back and I read up on him. He started coaching when he was 23.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when he came right out of college, I think he took his shot to the pros, didn't work out, and immediately he started coaching. I want to say he started at Utah.
Okay.
And he was a quarterback's coach at Utah and just rose through the ranks from there. But he's been coaching, even though he's only 35, he's been doing it at a high level ever since he got out of college. So I think he's ready for the task. But I definitely, we must implement a screen game. We got we got to go back to the Big Red days to get these running backs. I think
just the Doug days.
Yeah, Doug, I mean, when we had Sproles, like that was a thing of beauty.
Oh yeah,
could do.
Yeah.
When he was available.
I haven't seen anybody that explosive since.
Mm-mm.
But Gainwell is somebody that can make things happen when you get the ball in his hands. He can be that type of back. I thought Boston Scott would be because of his size, but Boston Scott is just not fast enough, in my opinion. I think Boston Scott's going to be the odd one out. So
maybe
when all this is said and done, and here's the thing that I'm hoping, and this is weird, but again, I'm old school, so I'm looking at Belichick, I'm looking at Parcells, I'm looking at Jimmy Johnson, I'm looking at those type of coaches that are able to make the hard decisions and not make friends. That's the only thing that worries me about Sirianni. I don't want friends. I want the best player at a position, period. If it's Gainwell, then let it be Gainwell. If it's Swift, then let it be Swift. If it's Penny, let it be Penny. But you put your dog out there on that field and let him go. Let him run. And get him the ball. If he's the man with the hot hand, you feed him the ball. We wasted our offensive line last year. We wasted it. We could have been. There's no reason, and I'm still upset about this. There's no reason we didn't go to the Super Bowl undefeated. We should have went to the Super Bowl undefeated.
I agree.
That BS loss in Washington, the BS loss in Dallas. We should have been running the ball all over these fools, but for whatever reason, Steichen didn't want to do it.
Nope.
And we stuck with the RPOs, and it almost cost us. But we got a stacked running back room. Who else in the league's got a running back room like ours besides San Francisco? Nobody.
Nope. I mean, Miami, once Dalvin stops and
once Dalvin just there.
Whenever he signs,
whenever he signs.
What's their running room? Because I know they have A-Chain or however you say his name.
A-Chain, they have Mostert.
Okay.
Jeff Wilson.
They got a track team over there.
I mean, we're forgetting arguably my favorite backfield right now in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in Seattle. And
that's a good one.
Yeah, but after that, it's
But, it used to be Chubb and Hunt, but now with Hunt gone,
right?
You know, and Hunt wasn't the same monster either.
No.
For me, to your original point when you threw it back around, you're saying, well, because Brian Johnson's here, we're not going to do this. But Marcus kind of alluded to it earlier, right? So two things I want to hit on. There was a picture last year. I don't know where it was. I can't find it. It was all four of the Eagles running backs. They were standing on like a hill or something like that. And it was Sanders, it was Scott, Gainwell. I forget. Fourth one may have been Sermon because I think it was taken late in the year.
Four, yeah.
So here's the thing. You said 215. Gainwell's 206. In that picture, if you could find it, you go look at the largest legs, and I'm talking about cast. I'm talking about the largest hips and quads. Yeah. Other running backs is Kenneth Gainwell.
Mm-hmm. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure Boston Scott would give him love for money. I have to look it up. It would seem like it was between Scott and Scott and.
I'm telling you, you're sleeping on the man's quads.
Let me see.
Let me see. For one, two, Marcus alluded to it earlier. You can't have Jalen taking those 17 runs like that now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because the money talk. So that's where I think we may be forced in order to preserve Jalen and be more timely with that, and adding in a true screen game to the running back or a dump pass, what have you, is going to allow to take. It's crazy enough to take some pressure off of Jalen. So when you do have those runs, it is going to be more timely now with Jalen, and you can preserve it more. Once again, Patrick Mahomes. You talked about Big Red, right? That's how he does it. He keeps Mahomes upright because he picks it. Now, obviously, Mahomes and Hurts, two different ends of the spectrum of how they play the position, but their value and what they mean to their team and to their franchise is unequivocally the same. Protection for Hurts from himself or from the play calling is definitely, I think, and also I go back to when Sirianni was the OC in Indy before he got here. I'm curious to see what Jonathan Taylor's just overall at the running back with their pass, not just the targets and also the catches, and what that ratio is. Because I think that maybe the first 2 years that he's been here, the first year obviously he had to run the ball more. Second year, we fell in love with the pass, right? But I think this third year could be that year where we find that yin and yang balance to where, because I still think, like Marcus said, not even so much for the fact that we weren't undefeated. Did Miles have 1,000 yards last year?
Yes.
Miles should have led the league in rushing last year.
He should have. I think he should have had 11.
The reason why I say that, if you take King Henry led the league, right?
No, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs.
Yes, you're right. You take the number of carries by Sanders and subtract it from the number of carries that Jacobs had. So take that difference and then multiply that times
You're saying the
Miles.
average. Miles's average was better than
Yeah, mathematically, if he would have had the amount of carries that Josh Jacobs had, he would have led the league in rushing. But we didn't run him like that. Now
and those runs were going to Jalen.
Yes. Now I don't see any reason why this year Jalen's pass attempts and running back rushing attempts both don't go up.
You think Hurts's running attempts will go up too?
I think no. Hear what I'm saying? The pass attempts and the rushing attempts by the running backs.
Oh, okay.
Not the QBs. Take the RPOs out, and I'm saying he's going to average anywhere between 3 to 5 times a game where he's going to get himself out of trouble. That's not an RPO. That's Jalen doing what Jalen can do.
Yep.
So
that's why you paid that man almost $200-300 million.
Exactly. Protected. Those plays are going to happen, but all of that sticking into the chest and reading the defensive end, they got a whole year's worth of tape to figure that stuff out.
Yep.
And all they got to do is look at that Houston game.
Yep.
Because I always forget his name, but that number 55 for Houston, he put it on us, defending that RPO.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it.
Pete.
So,
yes.
So you were asking about the Colts and how they were doing the passing with running backs. They were top 10 Sirianni's last year in the league with Indianapolis.
But also you also have to realize that they had, who was the quarterback? Was it Phillip Rivers? When you have a Phillip Rivers whose game is a lot different than Jalen Hurts is, that alters how you're calling these receptions. Whereas one, you can't design as many running back catches, or like you can't design as many plays that are designed for running backs as receivers when you have them as part of the RPO, when you have them in the backfield on play action, all of that. You can't. And I'm not talking about projecting. I'm talking about what happened in 2022. So you have to have the running back in the backfield at that mesh point for the RPO, right? And then beyond that, instead of checking it down, Jalen Hurts is just going to use his legs and run. So those two are big factors of why last year our running backs just weren't used in the, as receivers. That's just part of the system and part of the type of quarterback that we have.
But I also think it's the talent though too. I think the talent in the room this year is overall better than what you had last year.
It is. That's why I'm saying going forward, it's a question mark. I don't know. It's a big thing of, because Marcus brings up a great point. Like, ideally, I think we all would want Jalen Hurts' rushing attempts to go a little bit down and his pass attempts go a little bit up to conserve his health, right? Like conserve his, like, not health. You can get injured on any type of play, but the more, it's like logically, the more you're running and getting contact, the more likely it is for you to get hurt.
You're putting yourself in danger.
Yeah, you put yourself in danger, right? So
I was looking it up because I was just curious to see like what the difference is in the last 2 years. First year with Sirianni, we had 63 targets to the running backs. This year we had 29.
Yeah, because this year it was such a different, like, you found the groove that you had with Hurts in the way of calling certain plays, right? And you also remember Steichen at the end of 2021 is when he took over play calling. So things did change. Now Steichen's not here, but again, it's just a matter of, like, I don't know what's going to happen, because now we have Gainwell, now we have who's a year better. We have Swift, who was also a great receiver as a running back in his own regard. So you have two really talented receiving running backs, and you have an offensive coordinator that has a history of using running backs well as receivers.
Yep.
What is going to happen? That's a huge question mark. For me personally, I'm not writing it down in ink saying, oh, we're definitely not using our running backs that way. It's more of like, we haven't, so is that going to change? Right. I just don't know. Pete, I know you. I was looking up pictures of both. So, yeah, I'd say Gainwell's quads are a little bit bigger than Scott, but I think Scott's upper body is
Yeah, but what's that? But I'm concerned with when you were. I was listening to you when you were talking about that breaking down. This you don't break down from upper body injuries. When you break down, it's because
it's the whole thing.
You break down because something on the lower half, especially for a running back, you get hurt. That's why I wanted to make that point.
No, but also the upper body matters because if you are constantly
listen,
low,
brother, it's okay, man. You're just sleeping on Gainwell. It's all right. It's okay.
So now I'm the Gainwell hater. I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna look up the video. I'm gonna look up the video of me. Me going.
You lost your way. It's okay, baby.
So
I remember we were on the phone. We were on the phone together right after that.
I'm gonna put that video of you like,
you were in Cape May on your anniversary. I remember exactly where you were at.
It's okay.
You were once found, and now you're lost.
That video. I'm gonna get that video.
Somebody hit the Amazing Grace for him.
It's okay. So Pete. So Darren Sproles' quads were.
I expect somebody to be shorter to have bigger trunk.
So what happened with Darren Sproles when was he not constantly hurt? Because even though he had massive lower body. So it's not just about the lower body.
See, now you skewing the argument. You specifically.
I'm not skewing the argument. I'm using your own argument.
Hold on. Time out. It's three other people here. You specifically said 215, right? And Kenneth Gainwell was 205. I expect somebody who has a shorter center of gravity. For prime example, Markus is probably taller than you. Your calves probably put Markus' calves to shame.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're talking about
all right, straight legs. Let's go. Let's see it.
But what I'm saying to you is guys with shorter center of gravity like that, especially running backs.
I got some rocks down there, bro.
I'm like 5'6", 5'7", and my legs are huge, man.
I'm just saying.
What are we doing right now?
From an overall standpoint,
what are we doing?
Gainwell, I think he can do it. Can he do it? And then once again, it comes down to a fundamental. I think that he can be more than a compliment at just what you said to Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, you got to look at it like this. And I got the perfect example.
In my scouting report that I did for Gainwell, and I'll be consistent. I put him down as like a top tier, like a high level complimentary player. I never have seen him as someone who can consistently carry the ball week in and week out. 15 plus times a game. I don't see him as that. And to be honest, that doesn't mean he can't be great. Because if you want to look at other players, like Austin Eckler is not your traditional featured guy either. Austin Eckler is one of the best running backs in the game. Am I right? Mm-hmm. But how many times does he carry the ball on the ground each game? Like he's used. What makes him so great is the fact that he's used as a receiver as well. He's a dual threat. Like even Alvin Kamara, right? Alvin Kamara he's a feature guy, but he's not like he's one of the exceptions in terms of they give him a bunch of touches. But if you look at Alvin Kamara, he's over 215. So just because you're not traditional complimentary, like you're not traditional featured back, it doesn't mean you can't be great. Like you can still be great, but like when I'm talking about a featured guy who's going to get a volume of touches week in and week out, history has shows. You can look it up. I'm not even making it up. Look it up. Traditionally, outside of just a few exceptions, the benchmark is around 215 or maybe even 220 when you're able to produce at a high level and getting that volume of touches going forward. And I found that out 2 years ago. And when I found that out, and I saw that stat, I was like, all right, I have to adjust the way I see running backs in this way because I have 20 plus years of data showing that size doesn't matter. That's my big point. Now, if you're talking about like what did they use? Pound for pound, right? Pound for pound. Like I totally get it, and I understand that, and I don't disagree. That's where I think the leniency with the 215 is. Yeah, shorter guys, if they're around, if you're like 5'8", 5'9", but you're 215, you're generally part of that conversation because even though you're 5 to 10 pounds lighter than the 5'10", 5'11" guys, your BMI, pound for pound, you're still in that weight class, but you still have to have a lot of armor on you to sustain 15 plus touches a game. Does that make more sense?
But here's what the data does not account for. The data does not account for in today's NFL how many teams will run their running back 20, 25 times a game. Not many. So even if he is the number one back, that goes back to the argument rushes or touches. Because now in today's NFL, it's the touches that matter. How many times do you get your hands on the ball? I don't care if it's in the backfield or you're on a quick out or you're the check down. It doesn't matter. You get the ball to the guy who's going to make the play. And based on the last 2 to 3 years with the Eagles in our offense, we're not going to have a back that's going to run the ball 20, 25 times a game.
Correct.
They just don't do it.
Yeah, correct.
So that would make me think that you could put Gainwell as number one because he's not going to get that many touches anyway. They're just not going to run him like that.
But my point was Miles was the lead, right? Last year, he averaged around 15 touches a game. My point is I don't think
second half.
My point is I don't think Gainwell can sustain that. I personally don't see it. Would I love to be wrong? I'd love to be wrong, but if I'm going to be just completely honest and consistent with how I scouted him and what I see from him right now, he's not the type of back that can sustain that.
That exact same logic said that Devontae Smith wouldn't be able to do it either.
No, but the thing is, you're talking about Devontae Smith, a wide receiver who had elite traits. Gainwell doesn't have elite traits.
Elite traits have nothing to do with when you only weigh
when
180.
they can offset.
that is very well true. When you're talking about offsetting a flaw, a usual, how do they call it? Devontae Smith was an outlier, right? His weight was an outlier. We've never seen someone great be at that weight that he came into. However, I never let that deter me because he had elite traits all around the board. So that offsets that outlier. With Gainwell, he doesn't have elite traits to offset what you're talking about. So you can point out different running backs who are smaller and put up a bigger workload, sure. But if you're talking about, for every one you state, I can point out 5 or 10 different running backs who weren't able to do it. So
what's an elite trait for a running back?
No, like I'm talking about any trait, there's no elite ones that Gainwell has. His best trait is his receiving ability, I'd say.
Right.
If you're going back,
let's go down the list. In my opinion, the second half of the year last year, he was a better tackle-to-tackle runner than Sanders was. Yeah. He can catch the ball better than Sanders did.
Yeah.
He held the ball better than Sanders did.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, he was probably faster than Miles Sanders.
I literally just looked at their 40 time when I literally just looked at their 40 time when they were.
I would not say that. I would not agree to that. Miles was more explosive. Gainwell doesn't have elite. What Gainwell's special thing as a runner is he's ultra quick and elusive. He's very, very quick and has great agility. I'd say he has that over Miles. But when it comes to straight line burst and speed, Miles
didn't strike me as explosive.
I'm not even Miles' biggest fan. I can't agree with that.
Miles was fast, but I wouldn't count Miles as when you say explosive, I'm looking at somebody like
Tony Pollard.
I don't know, Tony Pollard, or take the best of the best. You look at somebody like LT, or better yet, my man from the Aztecs. Why am I blanking? For the Rams.
I can even give you my cousin Pop. Pop is more explosive than Miles Sanders. He hits the hole quick.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with Pop.
That's where we get into, Chucks. It's this fundamentally we keep talking in circles.
Yeah.
You just don't like Gainwell as much as you like Sanders. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sanders is 5'11. Gainwell is 5'9. Sanders is only 212, 211.
See, but you're putting something on me that's actually not true, because
you keep talking about why Gainwell can't do it. I'm just like, let's move on.
It depends on what context you're talking about. If you're talking about as a receiver, I would have Gainwell out there as a receiver, as a weapon 10 million times before Miles Sanders. I absolutely would. Now, would I? And do I trust Gainwell on passing downs and in the red zone more than Miles Sanders? Yes, I would. That's all I'm saying. I'm not. I didn't disagree when Marcus went down the list. Talked about hands. Talked about ball security. Talked about running vision between the tackles. Did I disagree with any of that? No, I didn't disagree with it. I didn't. All I'm saying is, even though he's better than Miles Sanders at that, none of them are still elite. Would you say? I wouldn't say. The closest thing that Gainwell has to having an elite trait is maybe his receiving ability. But I don't think anything about Gainwell is elite. I think we're inflating him because we've seen him improve drastically. One thing I will give him absolute credit on, and I saw it during the playoffs, and I absolutely loved, he improved his contact balance drastically, and we saw him break more tackles. He did that so much better than Miles, because that was the issue with Miles last year. Miles wasn't able to create yards for himself once he got into that second level. Not at a high rate, but in the playoffs, Gainwell did. He broke so many tackles, created yards for himself on his own so well. And that's what I gave him credit for. And I love that.
Who would be your example? Who would be your example as elite? CMC?
As an elite running back? Well, tune into the second half of the show, and you'll see who I have on my rankings.
Well done.
Well, here's my point. Here's my point. So you can argue that he may or may not be Gainwell. He may or may not be. But the only way you can prove that is to give him the opportunity. He simply hasn't had it yet.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair, and that's why I said I would love for him.
And that's why I say that same logic is the same reason why people said before he was drafted that Devontae Smith, he's too small.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, they said the same thing about Gainwell when he was at Memphis, and he had all them big names behind him, but they couldn't stop giving him the ball because every time he touched the ball, he made something happen. I think this year will be the determinant factor if he can get to that status. Like Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback yet. Now, if he does the same thing this year that he did last year, then you can have that conversation.
100%.
But right now, if something happens this year, well, then they look at him as a one-year wonder. So you got to have a consistency. Gainwell, this is his year. Miles Sanders is out the way. You got two guys that haven't been here, so they're not familiar with the environment yet. So that puts him on, as QB, as running back one, in my opinion. But again, it comes down to how they use him. If every time he gets the hands on his ball, he makes something happen, they're going to use him more anyways. And if they don't, if it's that obvious and they don't, well, then Brian Johnson need to have his ass fired. It's that simple. So, but having said all of that, we are in a great position to even have the conversation of the running back room that we have.
Yeah.
So we are playing chess, and we got a whole bunch of queens on the board. There's a lot of teams that can't say that, man.
100%.
You obsessed over running back 4 in training camp. Let's go.
There's a lot of teams that can't say that. Let me throw this nugget out there real quick, because this is just a gripe that I'm dealing with right now. I am so tired of hearing all of this nonsense about what the Eagles may or may not do with their record this year because our schedule is so much harder. And I'm thinking, does everybody just look at us like we didn't get better?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Like, are we just standing still? We still got a bomb-ass offensive line. We got a bomb-ass running back room. We got our only question mark is what are our linebackers going to do? You can't mess with our D-line. You can't mess with our secondary. You can't mess with our O-line. You can't mess with our running backs. You can't mess with our receivers. And you damn sure can't mess with our quarterback.
Yep.
Not in the NFC anywhere.
No, sir.
I think Marcus, to your point, even if we don't have the same record as we did last year, I think we could be a better team.
Absolutely.
Like the record doesn't always reflect, from year to year how good a team is, if they improved or went downhill. I mean, like I think we all agree that the Vikings were frauds, even though they had a great record. But you watch them play, you could easily tell, they're not They're not what their records say they are. That's why I don't believe in that saying. So I hear you. Absolutely hear. I think overall, to put a cap on our conversation, I think we all agree that there is no featured guy here. I think that with our running backs, it's going to be a committee. And if gun to my head, if you were to ask me, it's going to depend each week on the matchup who's going to be getting the touches, the more of the workload. I think overall over the season span, if everyone stays relatively healthy, I think Swift will still end up with the most touches. But that's not to say that, like, if Penny is here, I could see some games where Penny gets more. I think Penny is the best pure runner that we have. So I think there are games where if we're in a blowout and we're trying to run the ball, grind the ball out late third quarter, beginning fourth quarter, Penny's going to get a bunch of touches. He's going to be the one that's toting that rock, to grind the clock out. If we need a lot of passing down work, it's going to be Swift and Gainwell. There's going to be both of them being used. I mean, it's going to be a toss up in terms of who's going to be week in, week out the guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use them each week, and against certain opponents.
Agreed.
Yep. Jake and PY, I know you haven't said too much with this debate. I don't know if you had anything else you guys wanted to contribute.
No, I mean, you guys kind of really hit all the points on the head. I don't really have anything to add. You really
this is your show. I'm just here. This is your week, baby. You shine like a diamond.
Conserve your breath, or I guess, right? Because of the air quality.
This is the Chuck show right now. Okay.
Stop. Oh my God, stop.
Chuck's and friends.
Chuck, why they own you, dude? Why they own you like that, bro?
Because it's running back week. So, like, they know that they've been telling me that I'm just gonna talk the whole show because it's running back week.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Man, you gotta show love to them RBs, bro.
Oh God, yeah, hell yeah.
You know what? And here's one thing that I do worry about. With these newer days that they do, I call them newer days, not newer days.
I like that.
They don't hit, man. We were talking about on my show, my boy Dave Wilkins, man. We used to bang in camp, bro.
Yeah.
One of the scariest moments in camp, we were in New York scrimmaging, and we were in an 11-on-11 drill. And I come through the line, I get to the second level, and I look up, and freaking Ronnie Lott. This was when Ronnie Lott.
Oh my God.
Now this was at the end of his career. But I still grew up knowing who Ronnie Lott was.
Yeah.
Man, my heart skipped the beat. My heart skipped the beat, bro, because he came up full speed and just kind of gave me a chicken wing on the shoulder and just kept moving. I was like, he could have lit me up. We was in team drill. So, but my point being, it is very difficult to see what you have if you don't hit, because you're not going to see what you want to see in preseason.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
And the same thing's going to happen this year that it happened last year. The first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, the teams that figure out how to tackle first in the regular season, jump out ahead.
Yeah, and we've seen it past few years now. This has been implemented. Like it takes the first, what do you say, like 3 weeks of the season. That's their preseason game. Like those are their preseason games, because now starters don't play in preseason. Remember that. They sit. So the first 3 weeks are their preseason. That's their warm up. So whoever gets their legs under them first, they're going to be off to a running start. So I definitely understand that. So the last conversation I wanted to have before you head out, Marcus. We have two guys. They're going to be mentioned in my rankings. I can't speak for the other three. I don't know. I would hope, but we have two big name running backs who had great years last year, in Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, who are potentially going to hold out because of contract situations. I think we've, with you being a running back yourself in the league, and I always, whenever I talk to former running backs, I always talk about this, all right, because I want to get their input, because I personally, I think the hate and the disrespect toward the running back position has gone way overboard. I think it's gone way overboard, because you have constant guys. You always say, everyone always says, like, pay players, except for running backs. the minute a running back gets out of the rookie contract, it's the talk is always, oh, you never pay a running back a second contract, never pay them, just draft another one. And they run these kids into the ground. Look what happened with Josh Jacobs. Look what happened with a bunch of other guys. Run these guys into the ground, the rookie contract, and then it's see ya. It's like, we're not gonna pay you, thank you. And it gets so disrespected. There's a lot more points I want to hit on, but I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you hit on it first. Like, what is your take on how the running back position is valued now in the league, not only with teams but with fans and media, and what would you do to try to get that conversation skewed back into the way where running backs are just more respected? It doesn't have to be what they were 20 years ago, but like, get some more respect under their name. Like, what would you offer as a solution?
Honestly, there is no solution, because my opinion is my position is going extinct. A true running back is going extinct. The longer you go out, you look at what's the kid that Detroit drafted?
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs. You look at Bijan down in Atlanta. Hybrids. They're hybrids. Kenny Gainwell, hybrid. Tony Pollard, hybrid. You're not going to see too many guys like King Henry come out. Jacobs and what's the kid in Indianapolis? John Taylor. Saquon. Those guys, in my opinion, are true running backs. Yes, Saquon can catch the ball, but Saquon is somebody you want to get the ball to 15 to 20 times a game and let him do something. I just think the way the NFL has evolved, that's just where we are. The same way, how come you don't see no fullbacks? Because nobody drafts a fullback no more. You get a tight end that you put at fullback.
Yep.
That's what you do. So that's just the way the game has evolved, and there's not really anything you can do with it. I use this analogy the same way. Ever since Dirk Nowitzki, big men don't want to play on the blocks. Everybody wants to shoot a three. Joel. But that's just the way the game evolved. I don't like it because I'm old school. It's the same way with the running backs. Everybody is a hybrid. Rashaad Penny, I think he's going to end up being our number 3 back. He's going to be the backup because I think it's going to rotate between Gainwell and Swift. So they're going to be 1 and 1A, and then you're going to have Rashaad Penny. And, of course, they're not going to do anything with Boston Scott. He's just entrenched in the team. He's one of the leaders on the team, but he's just not going to play that much. He's going to be a special teams guy, and he's probably going to end up doing kick and punt returns. But to answer the question, I don't think there's really much you can do. Everybody's watching Tony Pollard. Everybody's going to be watching Gainwell. Everybody's watching Debo and CMC, and they still see what that success when you use it correctly. Because now everybody's, it's a copycat league. So everybody's going to be doing the same thing. And when you have that type of running back, why not? So I don't think you're going to, unless you have another guy like Henry come out that is firmly cemented on the fact that, no, you're not going to move me to linebacker or move me somewhere else. I'm going to stay at running back being 240, running a damn 4.5 or 4.4. Everybody, they're moving guys around like that.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons could have been a running back, or he could have been a free safety because he's that fast. But they're keeping him on defense. So I don't think there's anything that you could do to have a true running back. Every now and then you're going to get a freak to come out that looks like Derrick Henry and can be that big and run a sub 4.5 and can run away from people legitimately. But more and more, you're going to keep seeing those hybrids, and that's just the way the game's evolved.
Yeah, I think with it's kind of similar to the conversation with quarterbacks. Like, now the statue pocket quarterback, is that still a thing? And a lot of people will argue no, it's not a thing. You're going to have some movement ability, and I think it's a similar conversation with running backs where you're going to have some value on passing downs, whether as a receiver or a blocker. You have to contribute some way in order to survive. Now, I think I call me Mr. Optimistic, but I still will not give up hope, because I think that when you have a running back that is that dual threat, like that hybrid, with Bijan, we saw this coming out. He was special. Why? Because not only could he is a beast running the ball, but he's a beast catching the ball too. When you have a running back who can offer value on both aspects of the game, I think that shows that there is more value than what people want to allude to. I think you have to. Will I ever think that running back will be as valued again as wide receiver? Probably not. But I think the fact that some of these running backs are practically wide receivers shows that they should get more respect than they should be. I think that it all goes to the fact that, like, I think the hate has gone too far. I think the conversations have gone way to the extreme, to where you're talking about, oh, it doesn't matter if you draft a guy in the 6th round. It's the same thing as drafting a guy on round 1, but just getting them later. No, like a round 1 guy like Bijan is much different than a round 6 guy. And if you can't see that, then you're not looking at what the player actually is doing. You know what I mean? Like there's a huge difference, and we can get to a lot about like value in the draft, but I think that and Brandon Marshall talked about this on his show, and I thought it was a very interesting idea. I don't know if it's a solution, but I think it's an idea. You know how like the offensive linemen in the league, they have their own summit. Now that tight ends have their own summit. Like I feel like running backs need to have their own summit every year now. They need to get together. They need to be unified and work together to try to get something done to where, like, hey, like if you're going to run me into the ground in my rookie contract, but then once it's over, you're not going to pay me. That ain't going to fly. That's not going to. We're not going to stand for that. And if they're unified in that standing, like, and in that approach, I think it could hopefully do something. I won't guarantee it, but I think that's a step forward, and I think it's a good idea. When I heard Brandon Marshall say that, because he agrees that like they're way too disrespected now. It's gone too far, and I think running backs like Saquon and Josh Jacobs, like they're on to something, but you need to get everyone around the league every single year, bring them together and have a summit and say like, hey, we are still a position that does deserve value. You can't be disrespecting us, and I think that would be a good idea, but I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't do anything. I'm not sure.
It'll be from a coach or something, because the way the league is set up, like I said, it's a copycat league. So unless there's a coach that comes out and he's running some crazy scheme that nobody's seen before, and he's really utilizing his running back, if people see the success, they're going to copy it. So it's gonna have to kind of happen organically. So it all depends on what these coaches are wanting. You still got a couple of old school coaches that'll plug somebody in and like, listen, we're gonna pound you, and we're gonna pound you till somebody stops it.
Yep.
And then then the light bulbs will go off. It's like, oh, that is a tried and true way to run an offense, you know. But I'll use us as an example again. We had arguably the best offensive line in football last year, and we still didn't want to run the ball. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's just it'll be in another 4 or 5 years. It'll be somebody that's running some type of offense, and they'll figure out something different, and everybody else will look at it like, hey, how can we do that and wiggle it around? Now watch this year. Watch how many teams run that move that Andy Reid did that he stole from Jacksonville, where they run the motion and then they go back the other way.
Oh yeah, return motion. Yeah.
Watch how many teams do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because he did it twice in the Super Bowl and it worked. So yeah, exactly. That return motion. Yeah, absolutely. So Marcus, it's awesome as always having you on here. A2D Football Thursdays. We always knock it out of the park when we're linking up. So appreciate you coming on. It definitely won't be the last. So yep, appreciate you. Love you. Stay safe, man.
I'm out, brothers. Enjoy your holiday coming up.
Later.
Yeah, you too. Be safe.
Party safe.
All right. As he goes off, let's have a word from our sponsor, one of our other sponsors, Here's a word from Philly Sports Trips.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
So make sure you hit them up. They are the best in the business when it comes to road games. All right, people. I want to get to the chat a little bit because we had a few comments. So I don't want to neglect them. Matthew Walsh says, question for Chucks: who do you think Kareem Hunt signs with? I have no clue, bro. I have no damn clue.
I don't think he knows.
Yeah, I think it could be a thing where he doesn't even get signed until midway through the season. One of those. Philly Sports with Big says, if healthy, yes, but I do think the group of Swift, Penny, Gainwell, and Scott against the Giants will be a good group. There's no running back that enters week 17 100% healthy. There's none. Marquise Graham says, Swift is going to be used the same as Miles, just better in my opinion. Let's see. Kevin Godwin, this is an old flame. He says, I agree to the poll, but I think the split will be close. The touches may not mean the best stat lines in this case either. Let's see. We got George Nix. He says DeAndre Swift is going to be the lead guy. Brian Daly says he's going to agree to the poll, and he says he's got to be the workhorse. And then Martian says, did Harden get traded yet? Not soon enough, Martian.
Check back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll get into that when the time comes. All right, gentlemen. So let's get into this. We've had a good conversation in the first half when it comes to the running back position for 2023. When it comes to the Eagles, let's talk about our own ranking. So if I can get, trying to get it up here. Hold on. Da-da-da-da-da. There it is. Okay. All right. So I'm assuming no one else did tiers again, right?
Well, no.
All right. No one did tiers. That's fine. And then Pete, Mr. OG Pete, because he didn't have the time or, he just didn't want to. He didn't rank anyone this week.
I think because this is the thing. I did a rankings, but here's the thing, right? It's one thing for all us to participate. I get that. But when you have such an expert or someone who puts the effort that you do into it, I think the three of us could have came up with a list of critique if you rank them. If we just took your top 10 of your tiers, because honestly, it's hard for me to say who's even in tier 1. Yep. Because I actually think the running backs this year is not as vast as it has been in the last couple years. Okay. But no, I have a number of.
Okay, how many did you rank?
10.
Good. All right, Jake, how many did you do? You're muted, by the way.
10.
And then PY.
10.
All right, we're just gonna say the 10. All right, cool. Because my one tier ends at 10, so we're just gonna stick with 10. Good. Okay. So, and to your point, Pete, like, I still want to see what you guys disagree with. Like, I'm genuinely always interested to see how yours differs from my list. I don't.
But that's just the audience of one. That's just for you.
You're like the school teacher who just wants to figure out how he failed his students.
Chuck
well, you're wrong. Can you explain to me how you got to this wrong answer?
Chuck will just be like looking at the list, be like, okay, I get that. Okay, that's stupid. All right, yeah, that makes no sense. I don't even know who that is.
I don't.
He's going to say he's embarrassed by us at least once or twice in this video.
It'll be like that scene from,
say that.
What is that movie?
I'm not mad, Pete. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
All right. So, I did have 13, but we're not gonna talk about them. But I'm just gonna list my 11 through 13 just so they're on the list. and then if you have them ranked, we can talk a little bit about them. Tier 4, there's 4 tiers. I know. Tier 4, it's gonna start with Aaron Jones.
Okay.
And then it's gonna be Austin Eckler.
Okay.
And then my last one's gonna be Ramondre
Stevenson.
I can't fit it, so I'm just gonna go Ramondre.
Ramondre.
Okay, and remember, these are projection rankings. So these are how we project them to do in 2023. Who we think will be the best, for 2023 season. How they did before this is not
Doesn't matter.
factoring. All right, so this is just, So that's why maybe some like Aaron Jones, Eckler, being a little on the older side, they dropped on my list. But those are. Does anyone have them ranked?
I have Eckler ranked.
Where?
I have him 10.
Yeah. Okay. So you're anyone else?
I have Eckler ranked as well.
Where do you have him?
10.
Okay. PY, you have him?
7.
Okay.
I don't hate it because Eckler is such a good back.
He's still productive, yeah.
Yeah, he's so productive. He's so good. So I felt dirty leaving him at 12, putting him at 12. But I don't know. His contract dispute and him being another year older, like I feel like there's going to be a little bit of an off year, but I could be wrong. I could look really dumb putting him at a 12 on my ranking. So, you guys could be right. All right, so let's go 10. PY, who's at your number 10?
Miles Sanders.
Wow. Does anyone have Miles Sanders ranked in the top 10?
I do not.
Pete. No? I didn't see. I was looking at the thing. You don't. Okay.
No, sir.
PY, being the only, it's funny because you hate Miles Sanders.
I do, which is like I feel good about him heading into this year, though. Like I honestly do.
I should have kind of seen this coming because of the video that you wanted to talk about so bad. I feel like you're just now realizing.
Well, no, that actually had nothing to do with it. I was just curious your thoughts on it in regards to the Eagles.
We've mentioned it already. Like Jake, am I right? Like, didn't we mention this already?
Yeah, we did.
How he's going to be used as a receiver more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about this already. So I don't know. But yeah, you have Miles in the top 10. So you think he's going to be a top 10 running back this year?
I do. I think he has the capability of doing so. I thought he played extremely well last year. I did not think he was going to play as well as he did. He's going to be the leader in that room. What?
What the hell? I'm assuming he's talking about Miles at 10.
There's no winning. There's just no winning.
I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm just going to say I'm a little surprised.
I think he is going to be the workhorse on that team. I think he is going to be looked at as a true offensive weapon, whether it's in the passing game or the run game, because they don't have a lot of trustworthy guys that you can look to. Yeah. Miles has playoff success. Miles has success in the regular season. And I think what he did in 2022 is going to translate.
Okay. I think everything you said is on point. I think he is going to be the workhorse. He's going to have a good year. Saying that, I still don't think he's going to be top 10. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Okay. I'll start with my 10. Now, with this tier, I'm going to specify this third tier is full of guys who could be in tier 2, but I put them in their own tier because of question marks heading into the season, whether it be coming off a major injury or going into a huge contract dispute where they might not play. So that's why they're in their own separate tier, because it's big question marks. What I will do is I will read off the 4, and I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to speed this up too because we only have an hour. So I'm going to read off the 4 in my tier, and then I'll see where you guys have them ranked, and we'll converse. Okay. So number 10, I'm going to have Devontae Williams.
Ooh, okay.
Number 9, I've got one Mr. Breece Hall. At 8, I have Josh Jacobs. And then 7, I have Saquon Barkley.
Oh my!
Wow. Okay.
All right. So, does anyone have? Sorry, I minimized it by accident. Anyone have Javonte?
No.
I do not.
No, he was right outside my top 10.
Okay, yeah, he's so good.
Good evening, Eileen.
Anyone have Breece Hall?
Yes. No, not my top 10. He's outside of it too.
He's right outside. Okay. Anyone have Josh Jacobs?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I hope you hit it. Where do you have him?
I have him at. Let me see. I have him 4.
4. Okay. Wait, sorry.
I know that. Yeah.
My bad. Josh Jacobs. Pete, where did you have him?
5.
Okay. Jacobs. And then PY.
6.
Okay. Whoever wants to talk about Josh Jacobs, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about like a contract year, and he's holding out for a contract. I just to build off the year that he had last year, I just expect him to continue to do that. Just keep it short and sweet.
I mean, I'm actually appalled that you took contract considerations into this whole thought process. This is supposed to be if everything was equal, who you want as your running back going into the 2023 season? At least that's what I thought it was.
So I actually would have had Jacobs higher, except for the fact that everything that's going in with the Raiders this season is a complete and utter clusterfuck.
That too.
I think everything from top to bottom is just going to wreck with him. Whether it's contract, whether it's the quarterback situation, whether it's the head coach stuff, whether it's everything. Like I think there's a fire sale waiting to happen, and I don't think that's a good thing for Josh Jacobs.
That's a good point.
Yep. Good point. I think with the reason why I have him so low is one, obviously the contract, and 2, he had such he ended up leading the league in rushing because he was in his contract year. He wanted to earn that big money. Yep. I think there might be a drop off whenever we see a running back. Now Derrick Henry is the exception. Whenever we see a running back get like their career high in touches, the following year there's always a drop. And so that's why I have Josh Jacobs this low, because of those 2 reasons. If it wasn't for his contract, he would probably be at 5 or 6. But because of his contract, I dropped him to 8, paired with drop in production because of the year before. Saquon. Where you guys have Saquon?
I have Saquon number 3.
Oh.
I have him 3.
PY.
4.
Pete.
4.
Would you ever see the day where I am the lowest on Saquon Barkley? Did you
Interesting.
ever see it?
I'm intrigued.
Ever see it? It's because I don't think he's going to play this year.
Oh, you think he's going to say? Okay.
I don't think he's going to play.
Okay.
But that's because that's the only reason. That's why I put that disclaimer in this tier, is that like
gotcha.
He's there. But if he does play, obviously, and he's healthy and everything, he's probably 3 or 4 around that range. So he's high up. But like it's that contract situation. I don't think he's gonna play. Listening to him, I think he's in more danger of not playing than Jacobs is. I think Jacobs has a better chance of playing this year. The way things are going, I feel like Saquon's not gonna play. But I could be wrong.
I don't think Jacobs would need to sit out because I think he has the exact opposite of what Saquon has. Like I think Saquon is probably better, but like Jacobs has shown consistency, whereas Saquon's kind of like been up and down.
Well, I also think Saquon has more leverage too.
Yeah, he is their whole offense.
Yep.
No, he is their whole offense. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I have him this low. That is literally the main reason why I have him this low. But in terms of talent, I've talked a million times about his talent. I think he's got elite talent. I think he has improved when it comes to running between the tackles and his vision, being disciplined. It's still not his forte. He's still more of like a scat finesse runner that weighs 230 plus pounds and has quads the size of I don't know, like this room. So I would love to see him run better, but run more physically, but that's how he is. That's his style. So it is what it is. All right. So there's a lot of holes to fill. Pete, who's at your number 9?
Travis Etienne.
Ooh, good name.
Nice name.
I had him at 11.
Nice name. You have him at
11.
I
had him right outside.
Right outside. Okay. So you're high on him, Pete. Go ahead.
The system, talent, who he has behind him, and once again, if I'm just looking at, just give me the running backs on the list. Have your pick. If this person goes, that person goes, he will be number 9 as my choice for a lead back. I think he's fine. He's running into a stride. Speed, vision is getting better. You saw that last year. Yeah. And that's where I have him at.
People don't talk about it much either, just real quick.
All.
He had over 1,100 yards last year. And the people hardly ever mention it.
I think the crazy thing about Etienne is that because when he was drafted, they're just like, well, this doesn't make any sense because what's his name is
James Robinson.
James Robinson was running back 1. He just came off like a 1,000-yard season, right? And they're like, oh, he's hurt. He's an afterthought. And then halfway through the season, they just say, screw James Robinson. We don't need him.
Yep.
And then Etienne's just like, yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that dude.
Yeah. Etienne would probably be at my 14 or 15. I think Stevenson. The reason why I have Stevenson ahead of him is because I think Stevenson's game has developed. It's insane because and Eileen's. It's fitting. Eileen is here in the chat saying hi. The Pats fan, but like, who would have thought that the Pats would have a featured running back they'd lean on? But Stevenson with the Pats has developed so nicely, and he's even able to showcase his receiving ability, right? And you guys know how high I was on Stevenson. I think he's developed better than Etienne has. I think Etienne still has some issues running between the tackles. He has to work on that efficiency, but I also think I'm worried about what them drinking Tank Bigsby is going to mean for him. So, we'll see how it goes forward, but I do like Etienne a lot. I like him a lot. Jake, who's your number 9?
Number 9, I have Jonathan Taylor.
At 9. Is it because
9?
Yep.
Is it because he was hurt?
That's a big part of it, yeah. And then I just think he just didn't come off the same last year as he did. Obviously, the year he led the league in rushing, and he was amazing. So I think this year it's a return to form year for him.
We have him at 9.
Mm-hmm.
That's damn. PY, do you have him ranked?
Yeah, I have him at 5.
5, okay. Pete, do you have him?
Yes.
Where?
3.
3.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can say "ooh" all you want. See, there's just
no,
two.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I have him.
Jacob.
I have him also at 3.
Okay.
Especially with Shane Steichen there now. Come on, bro. Like,
yeah, that's
9
true.
is really low.
How am I not the crazy one in this ranking?
9 is really low. I think his bounce back year is going to remind everyone that he's like one of the elite running backs in this game.
This is just like a side comment. I think the Colts are going to be one of my favorite teams to watch this year.
They're going to be so much fun, right?
Oh my god! Like, because remember, like I love Richardson. Like everything about him just like makes me buy in. Yeah. I like Shane Steichen. I like the wide receivers more than some other people. And
the wide receivers are good. But
yeah,
I'm excited about them. Yeah.
The running back room is just going to be ridiculous. Like Taylor, the RPO game is going to be ridiculous. I don't care what anyone says. Like that is going to be so much. Like I'm going to be watching Colts games way more than I should be.
PY, we can watch them together because
sure. I'll bring a beer.
Let's go. Well, I don't drink, so
I mean, I have one. I have my one Red Bull vodka. That's it. That's literally all I drink.
You wonder why your lungs is fucked up,
dude. I have like less than 10 a year. Like that's literally.
Oh my god! All right, PY. Who's at your number 9?
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. Okay. Jake, you have him?
I do not.
Pete.
We have Aaron Jones. No.
Yes,
he's outside.
All right. Since you're the only one that has him ranked, PY, I'll just frame it this way: are you concerned with his age and how he's going to be affected by Jordan Love, first year of Jordan Love.
No, the age doesn't really bother me. I think you could make an argument about him splitting time with Dylan, but I also think that can also be a benefit to him because he's not having as many carries. But like he's consistently been one of the better backs in the league since he came in.
Yeah.
You know he's going to find the end zone. You know he's going to be effective. You know he's going to get those yards. And just being everything that it is in Green Bay right now, he's going to be their workhorse, and he's going to be the guy they can trust. Not only as a running back, but as a pass catcher. Like,
yeah, I hear you. I
especially
always
for someone as young as Jordan.
I always have Aaron Jones like around my 10, and I feel so bad because he's so good. But I always just like other guys ahead of him where I can't have him higher. But like he's always consistently around my top 10. Huge Aaron Jones fan. And I hear Aaron Jones is actually one of the nicest guys too.
Yep.
So he's easy to root for. Okay. Let's swing it back to Pete. Who do you have at 8?
8. I have Tony Pollard.
Okay.
Jake, you have him.
I do not.
Why?
I do not.
Okay. Pete, why do you have him ranked at 8 when none of us have him ranked in our top 10?
He's explosive, can do it all out of the backfield. Catch, run, hits the hole, but his legs are still young. And
we'll see about that.
I mean, we'll see. We'll have to see if he can be the man. But everything we're talking about with Kenneth Gainwell, Tony Pollard has that and then some, in my opinion, which sneaks him right inside the top 10.
So I'm worried with him. I'm worried about the injury. Like, how is he going to look coming off?
Okay. With Pollard, I forgot to mention this when Markus was here. Okay, we were talking about the Memphis running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how you use them, okay, because they're different styles of running backs. Okay, but if you were to use them if you were to use them to their strengths, I'm going to get killed by Cowboys fans. I think Kenneth Gainwell is a better player than Tony Pollard.
Mm.
I do. If you use Gainwell the way you're supposed to.
Okay.
I think he's better than Tony
See,
Pollard.
you're not the first person I've seen say that. I don't.
I'm not really.
I don't
Because
100%.
I feel like I am.
Lord Brunson was talking about that a few days ago. He brought that up, and I'm like, I can kind of see where he's coming from, and the same thing with you. But I just think from what I've seen so far, I think Pollard is probably, as right now, just the better running back.
And the thing is, Pollard has the advantage because the Cowboys use him the way he's supposed to be.
Yep. And I agree with that.
And he's great in that role. I don't have him ranked because one, that injury, so like that's huge, and then two, it goes in the conversation again. I don't know how he's going to be when he's asked to be the guy. And if you look at that running back depth chart for the Cowboys, I don't see anyone that can really spell him and take off with that workload. Some of that workload when he gets hired. So like attrition is going to play a factor. Tony Pollard isn't the biggest guy either, so he's going to have to prove he can do it over the course of the season as the featured guy. I don't know. I have my doubts, but he is talented. He's another one where I say like these Memphis guys are so good, but like he is a great complimentary guy. I do not see him as a featured guy, so that's why I don't have him ranked. Jake, you're 8.
You're muted again, Jake.
Jacob.
Sorry. I got King Henry.
Wow.
King Henry.
What?
King Henry.
PY, where's King Henry at?
2.
2. Okay. Pete, where do you have Derrick Henry at?
6.
6. Okay. I have Derrick Henry at 4.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll explain when we get to my.
I mean, I get 4 more than I get 8.
8. Jake, this is the second running back you have that are in my tier 1. You have at 8 and 9.
I think we need a P test.
It's the age thing. That's the age
drop off.
It's the I'm not like a crazy, like he'll still get over 1,000, but he's he's going to be 30 this year, right? He's going to be 30. No, he's 30 in January. But I mean, he's 29 in running back years, and for all the carries that man's had, I don't know. I don't see him having as good of a year this coming season. That's just me.
I have the same concerns, but the thing is, remember what I said about workload and there being a drop off, and
it doesn't affect him.
It doesn't affect it.
No, I hear you.
Derrick Henry is one of the exceptions, and he quietly had 1,500 rushing yards last year.
Another thing no one talks about.
It's insane. He had quietly until I absolutely see it, I cannot take him off of my tier 1. I can't. He's the exception. For anyone else, I would say, yeah, that's probably going to be a drop off. I did it with Jacobs. But with Derrick Henry, he is just such an anomaly that I have to have him.
That's fair.
I still have to have him tier 1. I have him at the bottom of my tier 1, but he's still my tier 1. Okay. Pete, do you have any other counterpoints to Derrick Henry?
I mean, at this point in his career, the guys I have ahead of him, I just like better because they're younger, and I think they have more meat on the bone left. Not taking anything away from what he can do. He still does what he can do very, very well at a very high level.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's that guy. Like, for whatever reason, like, you can just give him more carries every year, and then he'll still run the ball down your throat, throw 3 guys to the ground, and then be in the end zone 4 times. Like, he's not human. Like,
no, he's not. He's definitely not human.
And it's funny because I've never been as high on Henry as others because he doesn't have that receiving ability. So that always kind of like factors in there. But I mean, he's so dominant in what he does. All right, PY, who you got at 8?
Dalvin Cook.
Ooh, wow.
Jake, do you have him ranked?
I do not.
Pete, do you have him ranked?
I have him. He was 11 for me just because he's teamless right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that hurts because you love Dalvin Cook, so I know that you probably didn't want to put him that low. But if okay, I'll ask you this: if he was already signed by the Dolphins, where would you put him?
He'd probably be like. I think I would have him at 8.
At 8, okay.
Everybody would move down 1.
Okay, all right. Dalvin Cook, PY. Are you assuming that Dalvin Cook's going to be signing with the Dolphins?
I am. A lot of it is me basing it off the Dolphins, but a lot of it is also me basing it off of what he's shown me in his NFL career. He's very consistent. He's very good. Like, he's going to be a workhorse. He's going to be a stud. He's going to get in the end zone for you. He's a trustworthy running back. Like, obviously what happened in Minnesota sucks, but they're being cheap assholes. So that's what they were doing. So like, it's one thing if they cut him because, like a Zeke situation where it wasn't working out and the production wasn't showing what it used to be. That's just not the case with him.
I mean, he did have a down year last year.
But like for him, that's like it's a down year, but like that's still a good year.
I will give kudos to Minnesota for realizing what type of team they want to have, especially on offense, and then making the appropriate decision to go with it. Yeah. That's the thing. The team's identity on offense has changed since Kevin.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can't even think of it. Like Kevin.
Yes, Philly sports. Agreed.
So.
Yeah. The drop off. Okay, Pete. So we need your number 7. Who you have?
Kenneth Walker.
Yes. Knew I loved you for a reason. Jake, do you have Kenneth Walker?
I have the same exact spot.
Yes. PY, do you have Kenneth Walker?
I don't.
Oh, I hate you.
It's okay. I'm used to it by now.
I said it.
As my father tells me, disappointment.
Fine. I have him at 6.
Okay.
And it's what I'll say is it's funny because if you ask fantasy football people, they think you were crazy. But here's the difference: we're not talking about fantasy football. We're talking about how the player is, their ability, just beyond just their stats. Because I think we all agree, stats wise, he's going to have a cap because of Zach Charbonnet being there, right? Like they're going to be splitting that. He'll probably get 60%, 50 to 60% of the touches, but Charbonnet is going to eat into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to have his numbers are going to be as big. They're not going to be as big as what they could be without Charbonnet. But I think from a talent standpoint, he's going to take that next step.
Yep.
He's tier 2 for me all the way. You can add, Pete and Jake. I don't know what you want to add.
No, I mean, he proved it last year once Penny went down.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can almost argue single-handedly got his team into the playoffs and almost single-handedly not being healthy at 100% going into the playoffs probably hurt their chances of moving on.
Great point.
I mean, so I think Charbonnet's draft pick, the draft pick of Charbonnet, is enough just to kind of keep him healthy. And once again, it's a team identifying what type of offense they want to run, what they want to be on offense. And I think Pete Carroll, John Schneider have recognized, okay, let's get younger backs in here that can carry the load because we have Tyler Lockett, we have DK Metcalf. Now you add another weapon with Jackson Smith and Jigba. And if Geno doesn't work out, then if Geno plays the same way he did last year, he still has weapons. But if you find a better option, then you can move on to have an offense with skills, with skilled players already ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Jake, anything to add?
No, I mean, pretty much hit the nail right on the head.
Yep. PY, why do you hate Kenneth Walker?
Sorry, did you say, why do I hate Kenneth Walker? No, I mean, I thought he had a really good year, but
why have you forsaken him so?
Have we not realized now that I'm just continue to disappoint Chuck? That is my goal. It is my curse. It is my fault. I did not lock the garage.
You can leave it at that. You can leave it at that. Jake, who do you have at your 6?
Number 6. Let me see. Where am I at?
We'll lead the league in rushing just to make me look bad.
Mr. Give me Philadelphia's own DeAndre Swift.
Wow, you have him this high. Wow,
you're peeing in the cup after the show. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What the hell is going on here?
I think he's going to be a big part of this offense this year. I think he's going to be a huge part of the passing game this year.
Okay,
I think it's going to be a huge factor for him this year.
I think I can assume that none of us have him ranked, right? The rest of us have him ranked.
No.
Okay,
that would be correct.
All right, yeah, I can't. I really like DeAndre Swift a lot. I think he is going to have a monster year. Absolutely, I believe it. I think
keyword in this ranking, projection.
Yeah, it is projection. I just can't project them over 10.
I hear you. I hear you.
Chuck, where would you have him? I'm curious.
You have him projected over 1,500 yards. Derrick Henry. Like I don't understand. I don't.
He'd be in my like the tier 5 where I said ETN would be. He'd be in that same tier. Yeah, you bet that's what it is. Molly Moss says,
I saw it.
Oh no, somebody.
Right?
Oh my God!
We need drug tests up in this company.
I hope you are right. I hope he is.
I really, that's just how I feel. I think he's going to have a huge year this year.
I really hope you're right.
If DeAndre Swift is a top 10 running back next year, I said I'll give you $100 a charity of your choice, baby. You can pick it right now.
Alrighty.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna give my number 5, and here we go. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna freaking do it.
I'm gonna do it too because I have him in the same spot.
Oh my god! I don't even want to hear. I don't think Jake should talk the rest of the freaking show.
Wheels are falling off. Let's go.
These are projection rankings. We are projecting Bijan to go off. I'm assuming Pete, you guys don't have Bijan ranked.
He would have been on here if. How can I say this? I'm a firm believer in, and I need to see you do it. But
okay.
But he was on the list a couple of times.
Okay. Okay,
Oh my God.
I understand that. PY, anything to add?
No, I love Bijan, but no.
Okay. Jake, you go first.
No, I mean, we saw what he could do at Texas. He's literally, he can do everything. He can catch, he can run, he can block, he can do everything for you. And for the Cardinals to have a guy like him on their offense, I think
Falcons. Wrong bird.
He's got. I
Falcons,
really.
sorry. But
That would be so bad.
Really
Gannon
need the
had him.
drug test, Jake. Now.
yeah,
Gannon
You
had-
okay?
He must have been looking at closing documents on the house and realized how much money.
I
I don't think the wedding is anytime soon.
I don't want to talk about that either. But anyway,
See,
no, but I think just in Atlanta's offense, just going into that, I think Atlanta's going to be sneakily good this year. But
the division is ass.
Yeah, their division's there. That's another part of it
so
too.
bad.
So gives enough room for Bijan to take advantage of that, and I just again having a the kind of star power that this guy can have in Atlanta and the type of franchise player he can be. He's just going to be. I think he's going to be unbelievable this year.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Absolutely. Okay. I just like. There's not much I can add. If I'm projecting, there's no way I say all the BS that I said about him this past
And you can't not have him ranked.
And not have him this high. Like
Right.
the only reason why he's not in the top
high.
tier, the only reason why he's not in my top tier is because I do think as every rookie does, they're going to be like transition pains. He's going to have to learn as a rookie something, so that's going to hold him back a bit. So I have him in my tier 2, but man, yeah, he's
I hear you.
going to be a monster from the get-go, regardless. PY, who do you have at your number 3? We've all got our top 2. I think we can all we've all got 2 left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of how do we rank these 2? So, PY, since you have the 3 spot open, you start it, and we'll fill in both spots. So who is at your 3? Is it CMC or is it Nick Chubb?
Nicholas Batman Chubb.
Really? Number 3. Okay.
None.
And then CMC, yeah.
Christian McCaffrey. Jake, how do you have it?
I have Chubb 2 and then McCaffrey 1.
What? Are you sure you don't want to do it in reverse?
Oh, stop.
I mean, I can't tell my wife I got a CMC in the bedroom, so my Chubb is at number 1.
Are you sure it's not a quarter Chubb?
You're stupid.
I makes babies, boy.
That's true.
I went to a Browns game once, and I saw 4 people. They had Nick Chubb, quarter Chubb, full Chubb, half Chubb, and I'm just it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I have
That's
seen
pretty
that.
clever.
I have.
Seen
All right.
that.
So for me, this might surprise people. I have Christian McCaffrey too.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
not crazy at all, considering.
I mean, yeah, either or.
The reason why I say that is, if you knowing me, how I value receiving ability and dual threat, one would assume, and they would be pretty smart in assuming, that I would put Christian McCaffrey at number 1. However, if you also remember, and I tell you guys this all the time, right? I've talked about it in the past maybe year or maybe more. Nick Chubb has been the best pure runner in the game for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just there's something that gets accredited to consistency and reliability and just always being that guy.
Yeah.
I think that Nick Chubb deserves his flowers, his respect. And I am going to say he is the best running back in the game. And until he falls off or until Bijan supplants him, he is going to stay the best running back in the game for the next year or 2.
It's funny, too, because I was thinking about this earlier. If you guys remember a couple years ago when Hard Knocks was in Cleveland, when they drafted Baker and Chubb in the same draft. All the cameras and all the interviews were there for Baker. And what was there for Chubb? Nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Aside from the Hard Knocks camera, that was the only camera there for Chubb.
Yeah.
And now look at it. Now look who's still in Cleveland.
Yeah. And he's quiet. He doesn't talk much. He just comes to work and does his business. And I always wonder how would he be even better if he didn't get that knee injury in college? You know what I mean? Like, because that's a big reason why he fell.
Yeah, it's possible.
So would he be even better, or this is just pretty much how he'd be? I always wondered that. But
I mean, we're projecting him as like a top 2 running back. So I'm like, I don't know how you can get any better.
Well, that's my question. Like, could he even be like? It could be to a point where if he never got that knee injury, he could be the runaway number 1. He could have been number 1 over Derrick Henry, over Jonathan Taylor, like for years, and it wouldn't be a contest. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been like Adrian Peterson type of level where like he's just looked at unanimously as number 1.
So I disagree because like I think one of the things that really helped Nick Chubb was all the people he had to work with. Because unlike other running backs that were drafted, he wasn't expected to be ran into the ground. Like he had the dude from Ohio State who's I can't remember. He's had Kareem Hunt. He's had DeAndre Johnson. Like he's had a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, what you were talking about in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Guy from Ohio State.
Yeah, it was like Ohio State running back. He was like a big name at one point. He was in Jacksonville for a year. For whatever reason, they used him more his rookie year. Nobody understood why.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're crazy. I don't remember.
Yeah, I just can't remember the name.
Yeah, I can't remember. So 2018.
Yeah.
Let me look at it. So Browns depth chart 2018.
What the hell is this guy's name?
I'll find it. I'm looking.
I just know he sucked.
So yeah, I just know he sucked. That's a good thing. So
Hugh Jackson loved it. Hugh Jackson loved him.
It's Carlos Hyde.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
I remember. Well, because Hyde was the vet. I get it.
Yeah.
But no, I hear you. No, but I don't know if I agree because I think even if he was the guy, he'd be doing the same things.
He would, but like I think that helped him a lot because like he has way more tread on the tires than I think other running backs had because he was splitting like even time with dudes. Like Kareem Hunt was getting a lot of carries.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt was getting a good amount of work. I don't know. I hear you. You're not being crazy. I hear you. It's a fair point. It's not enough for me to knock him down from 1. It's just not enough. I think he's still that talented. He's still that guy. So I'd have him on 1. And there was someone else in the chat who agrees he had, if I can find it. Yeah. Kayvon Kellum says Nick Chubb is the best back in the league. Yeah.
There you go.
With me and Pete.
That's fair.
CMC. So you guys had CMC over Chubb. Explain. No, sorry. I'm trying to. I didn't mean that as a dick way.
Explain yourselves, minions.
I'm trying to mix up words. I'm trying not to say the same thing all the time. So like,
worthless.
There's only so many ways to explain why. Like, but go ahead.
Explain.
Explain yourself, scum.
I mean, he just does everything so well. Whether it be running the ball, receiving, his vision's great. And it's just kind of what you expect from a player whose dad also played wide receiver. So he's great at that as well. And he's the definition of like what you would want in a Swiss Army knife type of running back. And do everything.
Run CMC, draft him, Howie.
Wish we drafted him, but
I still have that Ike Reese shirt I wear all the time. This is one of my favorite teams.
Apparently we wanted him last year.
There's nothing we could have done. He got taken before we could pick. So I mean, there's just no way.
If Mr. Perfect was a running back, he would be Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. I know there was a report going around last year that
is that a character?
Is a wrestler.
What? Oh, what?
Oh,
Yes.
the wrestler. Sorry.
That's
Oh,
Kurt
my
Hennig.
God.
I
Yes.
know who Mr.
So he
Perfect
did.
Yeah, Mr.
He did a
Perfect.
series of vignettes where it's him doing like all
You
these
know,
ridiculous.
now that you
I
said
know- I
that,
know
everybody
who it
wanted to be Mr. Perfect in
I'm like,
1989.
no, for some reason I was thinking like, you talking about like a TV show? You're talking about like who's in Mr.
No.
He was
I
good at
scared.
everything.
I was
I did
Everything
scared.
he
not
did.
think. I did not think of.
He
wrestling.
filmed these vignettes where he's doing all this sports stuff and he's actually doing it. Like he throws like a 60-yard bomb in the air. And he just freaking catches it himself.
Yeah, I thought. I also was wondering, like, are you saying like CMC is
Mr. Perfect.
running back?
He's Mr. Perfect. He is. He's everything he does is perfection. Kickoffs, punt returns, catching, blocking, receiving, everything. Just perfect.
You guys want to hear a hot take? Or I don't know, and we'll end it with this and be a transition for next week. If Brian Westbrook was in this era, he'd be better than Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
We agree. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
All right, it's not a hot take. Sweet.
Yeah.
Good. All right, good.
Well, I mean, just for like what he did, but he was so ahead of his time. It's just it's sad because he could have been a Hall of Famer
if he stayed healthy, it wasn't the right era.
Well, exactly. That's the
He was
big
in the
thing.
right
If he was
era.
in the right era, if he was in today's era, that's just the.
Yeah,
and I
Markus
think that was the big thing why Andy was so excited to draft
Clyde
Edwards-Helaire because that's basically who a lot of
Yeah.
people projected him to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Talk about a letdown.
oh my God!
Yeah, huge letdown. He was
I
my
was
RB1
shocked
that
when they
year.
drafted him. I figured they were going to draft the other guy.
I remember draft night. Me and Chuck's were on, and I saw the pick. I'm like, oh my God, it's over.
Because I
It's
just
over.
had them picking Dobbins. I'm just like, that's every mock I saw had them going Dobbins.
Yeah.
If you guys remember, I mocked Clyde to the Chiefs. So I was like, he's so similar to Brian Westbrook, he would be perfect for them. But I think it goes to show, like, because I know there was that one scout. It was reported after the draft. There's one scout who said, like, oh yeah, he's a better version of Brian Westbrook. And then like I scoffed at it. I was like, let's see about that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Like Clyde was my RB1, but let's hold on before we say he's Brian Westbrook. And as we can see, it takes a lot to be the caliber of player that Westbrook was, being able to do everything well. So
His vision scares me.
Mm-hmm.
Whose?
Hilaire's.
Oh yeah, that's his
Like
vision.
Trent Richardson-esque stupidity when I watch him run.
It's not between them. Sorry, it's when he gets carries out to the outside where his vision worries me. His vision and his burst. He doesn't have a. He has a lot. That's one thing that's one thing that Clyde doesn't have that B West does, and that's why I also said Clyde was athletically closer to Devontae Freeman than he was to.
Can't be dumb and slow.
Like his vision to the outside, of the tackles is not good, but in between the tackles, his vision is good. But he also, when you get to that side, like he doesn't have that burst, like he doesn't have that gear. You know what I mean? And like he was so good, Dick. You can attest to this. He was so good as a receiver.
Oh, it was great
with LSU, but in the league, it hasn't translated. I don't know why. So, a huge disappointment. I think that I'm not gonna give up totally on Clyde, but time's running out. You know, it looks like his time in Kansas City is
coming to an end. Yeah,
so he's gonna have to prove it somewhere else. But we'll see. Good job, guys, with the rankings. Again, see, it wasn't bad. Like it's
some of us.
I think the most outlandish things were Jake actually having Derrick Henry and Taylor as low as he did, and then obviously PY not having Kenneth Walker ranked was probably just as bad. So, all right, gentlemen, great stuff. Again, Bam, if you're listening still, we will have this graphic up tomorrow morning for you on A2D socials. All right, either tomorrow or Saturday, one or the other. We always either or. All right, gentlemen, let's end the show. Let's top it off with our no huddle segment. Do you guys have anything this week? What do you guys want to talk about?
I'm just counting down the days till Barbie.
You're actually excited for it?
Oh my God, I am.
Are you?
like literally, like it's just it looks amazing.
It looks really cool.
I have there's no reason why I should be as excited as I am, but for whatever reason, like this movie's just fun. The marketing is hilarious. The t-shirts are hysterical.
The marketing is hilarious.
I've never seen. It's one of the smartest marketed movies I've ever seen. Like,
well, it's like a simple concept to where like
it is, but
like you don't have to add anything complex to it. It's just based off a toy. That's all it is.
like
you don't have to...
there's so many things to where it's like other movies that have been made by toys are just not this smart. And also, like Greta Gerwig is not a person you say to yourself, like, you know what she should do? Barbie. Like, it does not fit her in the slightest, and yet it looks smart and fun. And Ryan Gosling looks like he's having the time of his freaking life.
He I will say he is a good Ken. He pulls off Ken well.
I think it's going to be one of those movies where you're just going through, like trying to catch the Barbie references, and you're just like, "Oh my god, why is this in this movie?"
Yeah.
What's the term to use for when like the character has awareness of being in a movie? It's the breaking the fourth wall, right?
The fourth wall.
Yes.
Yep.
Fourth wall. I think that's what the plot is. I'm pretty sure that's what the plot is.
They go into the real world, and it's them like trying to like interact, and Ken's just like, "Yeah, man."
Yeah. I think that's what it is. It's gonna be really funny. I still love how they put Emma Mackey in the movie with the thought process that they look alike. So we're gonna have another actress in there that looks just like.
I like the fact that there's like 20 Barbies.
Yeah. 20 Barbies, 20 Kens.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of them. That's funny. I'm excited that Simu Liu is in there too. So. I think I said that last week, but
he's fun.
Yeah, PY, I share your enthusiasm for this movie. I'm excited for it, but I just can't watch it yet, obviously, because I can't go to the movies. But I'm
just disappointed because it's like they're doing like advanced screenings in like Philly, and I have no desire to drive out there.
Fair enough.
So I'm like, why can't you just do it near me? And they're like,
man,
no.
I used to before Grayson, Mary and I, we were in the city like at least once a week. I would go to the city in a heartbeat.
I don't want to drive 40 minutes to go see a movie. That's my whole.
Yeah, it's farther. It is farther for you. Yeah, it takes me 10 minutes to get to the bridge. So like it's.
And if that were my case, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
No, I actually forgot Secret Invasion second episode came out, so I got.
I heard it was really good.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
The first one was good. It has me wanting to watch the second one now, and I need to go to sleep. So.
Yeah, same. I gotta go to bed too.
Cool. All right, guys. So let's close this up. For those who are listening, thank you so much.
Superman next week.
Next week, we are continuing running back talk. Best running backs, top running backs since 2000.
That's gonna be so much harder.
Doozy.
It
should be a doozy. Oh, that's gonna be so much fun.
Since 2000.
Since 2000, yeah, same thing.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask Chuck to tell me what running backs I should pick.
It should only be one or two people at the top, in my opinion.
Yeah,
right.
The top should be very easy. It's everyone else.
Wow. Trent Richardson.
Fun. There's so many. It's so much fun. Anyway, so I can't wait for that next week. So, but guys, make sure you tune in. That's going to be such a movie of the show. Thank you to our main show sponsor, Baz Joe's Bread. Make sure you mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. Catch all the other shows here at the station. We got a show almost every day for you. So support the shows, and thank you for supporting us. Till next time, same place. It's your boy Chucks, OG Pete, PY, Jake Friel. We'll see you next week. Until then, peace out. God bless. Love you. Stay safe.